Hello my friends, this is Amner Hunter from Amner Hunter Studios. Welcome to another video tutorial of audio mixing. In the previous video we checked at mixbox compression. Alright, that's all we have done here related to compression on this mix. We're mixing this heavy power metal song from the band Dark Ride, and well it is an awesome track. So that's the only move that we have done with compression, right? Looking for a little bit of gain reduction here to control the dynamics on the overall mix, all right? So in this video we're going to cover up compression and on the drums, on all the track of the drums. I'm going to start with the kick drum, all right? And we're going to start compressing the kick drum here on this group, all right? So before we actually go and jump up to compression, I like to consider a few things, all right? Well, first we need to know if the track actually needs compression. We don't have to use compression only because the pros do it, only because we know that we need to use compression. We have to use compression only if we need it to, all right? With intention. It has to be with intentionality, all right? So one thing I look up when I compress things is for the sound of it. If I am listening to the song and I feel that a certain track needs maybe more attack, more punch, or is some hits, for example, in the kick drum, some hits are harder than others, and I lose some hits in the mix, and then some hits I can listening to them pretty well and other don't. That's when I know that I need to use compression, right? And another way is also to look at the waveforms. As we can see here on the kick drum, the hits of the kick drum are pretty consistent, right? As you can see, here are some picks that are kind of out of control, different from the other ones. But pretty much all of the song is consistent, right? This could be a consequence of several things. Let's listen to the kick drum by itself, right? All right, this could be a consequence of several things, like I said. One could be that they use compression on the way in when they were recording drums, and another one is that maybe the drummer could have a very consistent hit. All right, so it is very important to have a good drummer when recording drums, right? It's one of the most important things. To have a very good punchy sound is to have a drummer that hits hard and consistent. All right, so this could be some of those scenarios. All right, but even though we have some consistency throughout all the kick drum track, we need to control some dynamics here and here. And maybe this part that is too quiet, maybe. Right, the kick drum is a little bit quiet there to bring up the overall level of the quieter parts of the signal. All right, so let's jump up to compression. For the purposes of these videos, I'm going to use the the compressor that comes in Cubase, stock compressor, this one. And I want to show you a way that I like to approach compression. All right, I'm going to deactivate the auto gain option here. All right, I'm going to do the makeup gain manually. All right, I'm going to put the threshold to 0, so no compression at all. I'm going to use ratios from 4:1 in most of the tracks. All right, this doesn't mean that it has to be this way. All right, it is my way to do it. It doesn't mean that it's going to stay maybe all the time the same. It could change, but for me this is a starting point. All right, so I'm going to use to start with the slowest attack time and with the fastest release time. All right, and the analysis, I'm going to set it up to peak. All right, I wanted to analyze the peaks. All right, not the average loudness. I want to reduce the peaks. All right, so let's start with this. By the way, we are in mono, right? We're going to be mixing in mono and checking in stereo also. So as you can listen, the head of the kick drum is very tight and very punchy. All right, it was a very good recording, and so we have a very good drum sound already. But let's see what we can do for the kick drum with some compression. All right. Right, I'm looking for a gain reduction of maybe minus 3, minus 4 decibels. All right, gain reduction. And let's check out in this section of the song where the head is very loud. All right, this part. All right, I think that's a good starting point for the attack time, right? As you can see, in these sections, only is reducing like 2 decibels, and when the compressor, when the kick drum get to this part, the compressor reacts more and is reducing minus 4 decibels, right? In this section of the song. So now that we are compressing the kick drum, we can now make up or compensate that reduction. All right, so let's check it out in solo just to see what it's doing. All right, it tightened. The kick drum feels tighter, and all right. So let's compensate that gain that we lost with compression. All right. The input and output are kind of like the same right now. We compensate 1.2 decibels. All right. So let's check it out in context of a mix. I recommend you to when you try to match the level of the input and output, and don't let yourself only follow the meters. All right, you have to follow your ears. All right, so you have to level match the before and after compression. So use your ears for that. All right. So let's check it out in context of a mix.
You think you know me? You think you got everything under control? No.
All right, and here in the quieter parts of the kick drum hits, we see how the compressor is reducing very like 1 decibel point 68 or something like that. So it's not reducing much like in the loudest parts. All right, so I think that the overall hits of the kick drum are more consistent. And the point, well, maybe it's very subtle. What you're listening with compression, like I said, it's very hard to actually hear what compression is doing. But with the use of compression through all the tracks, and using it subtle, not very like very aggressive compression, we can achieve pretty good things. All right, so let's jump up to the snare. And with the snare, I want to achieve also a more punchy hit of the snare, which the snare already is punchy, but I wanna to have more punch out of the snare. All right, so let's check it out. And also judging by these waveforms, as you can see, almost all of the hits are very consistent. So maybe the snare also was compressed on the way in when they recorded the session. Also, well, like I said, the drummer might have a very consistent hits. So let's see what we can do with the snare so that it has more punch in the mix. All right, especially in metal music, the drum has to cut through. With all of the guitars and everything playing, the snare has to have a very punchy so it can cut through the mix. All right, so let's check it out. Again, we're going to start the same way. All right, let's disable the auto makeup gain. I'm going to put a ratio of 4:1, threshold down to 0, no compression at all. Analysis to peak, a very fast release, slow attack. Remember that fast attacks or faster attack times tend to kill the audio because it doesn't let that transient or the attack of the signal to pass through. So we're going to start with a very slow attack. and increasing it to our liking and to fit the song and the things that we want to achieve. All right, so let's check it out. As you can see, if you play with the attack and release time, you can see how much the sound of the snare changes, right? Uh, right, it has a little bit more punch with these settings, right? So with the fast release time, you can see how the not only you're not only listening to the attack of the snare, to the transient. You are listening to the tail of the snare, right? Like it could be the how do you say it, the microphone from the that is below the snare, all right. You can listen more of that, right? And with the slower release time, you are only listening to the transient, right, to the attack, and not much of the tail of that snare. So it is the settings are like to your liking and what you want to achieve, right? I like with the faster release time like this and medium attack time, all right. And so if you listen to the before and after, the snare is a little bit with more punch than before. Let's check it out. Let's check it out in context of a mix. All right, the differences are very subtle, and so we're not trying to achieve a major change with these compression moves. All right,